fresh off an overtime win in Des Moines at the Knapp Center on Sunday, the Hawkeye women traveled to Manhattan, Kansas on Thursday and lost. I'll give you my take on a loss and what it means moving forward, what the Hawkeyes need to do to get back on track. But first, I want to thank Ascent Nutrition. Awesome products, folks. If you haven't checked out their site, visit goascentnutrition.com, especially their premium Ascent coffee. It's mold and mycotoxin free. It's not treated with the pesticides that most of your name brand coffees are. Certainly check this stuff out. Goascentnutrition.com. Use that code Hawkeyes and you'll get 15% off your total order. You're supporting from the Hawkeye of the Storm, folks. Get your day started with a cup of Ascent Nutrition coffee. Goascentnutrition.com. Use that code Hawkeyes for 15% off. So the Iowa women lose a heartbreaker on the road to Kansas State in a game that was televised on ESPN Plus. In the first few minutes of the game were reminiscent of BTN Plus games. Audio was terrible. They eventually got that issue figured out, but the Iowa women never got their defensive issues figured out, and this is a lingering issue now. It's been a problem, as we know, in recent years. As good as Iowa has been, they've been flashy with the likes of Caitlin Clark and certainly Monica Sonano. We can go back to Megan Gustafson and what she did, or even further back to Sam Logic. They have had issues with defense for a while now. And these are problems that are going to take some time to correct. What I want to hear from Lisa Bluder in the postgame press conference, and by the way, I'm recording this basically 10 minutes after the game finished up. I want to hear Lisa acknowledge the fact that this defense is not where it needs to be. And I love Lisa Bluder. Let me just say that first of all. But on Sunday, I listened to her after the Drake win, and I understand you're coming off. It's a win, right? You went on the road and you won, so you're happy about that. But she talked about scoring and needing help from other people. We got to acknowledge the elephant in the room. This defense is not good right now. Way too many open threes. 3-point defense, the first thing written down in my notes this evening. Kansas State shot just 31% from three. They took 36 shots from behind the arc, made 11 of them. But a lot of those misses were open. A lot of the makes were open. Too many easy drives to the basket. This is becoming, a trend. I shouldn't say becoming a trend. It is a trend. But now we're seeing it this season with tougher, stiffer competition with Drake and Kansas State. And believe me, folks, it's going to get harder. You've got teams like North Carolina State coming down the pipeline. You've got Iowa State and, of course, conference play. I go back to what Gary Close said, and he wasn't talking about the Iowa women, but I remember a comment he made last year. We were talking college hoops in general. And, of course, we were breaking down the men's game. But Gary Close, a seasoned veteran coach, all right, he made the comment that, look, it's one thing if a team scores 80, 85, and they made a bunch of tough shots, especially long twos. But when a team is making their living on layups and threes, you know you got a problem defensively. And that's exactly what Iowa's opponents are doing. They're hurting Iowa from behind the arc, and they're hurting Iowa with easy drives to the basket, easy layups, breakdowns off inbounds passes. I'll tell you this, and I don't want to pick on anybody specifically. Lisa Bluder's got to figure out what to do with Gabby Marshall defensively. And I understand Gabby Marshall's a senior. She's a seasoned veteran. I have no doubt she's a wonderful leader. She can make three-point shots, but she's disadvantaged with her size. She's not what I consider to be an athlete at this level, right? She's not great laterally. I can't tell you how many times tonight, folks, and again, I'm not trying to pick on her. I can't tell you how many times she got driven by in this game for easy baskets. One late was real costly because it ended up being an and one. She just struggles to defend. And right now she's starting. I'm not saying she should or she shouldn't be starting. I can tell you this. I kind of thought Molly Davis would have a chance to start over Gabby Marshall heading into this season. And Molly's played okay. Overall, though, this team needs help besides just from Sonano and from Clark. Warnock chipped in 12 points tonight, had a solid game. She kind of had a gaffe there at the end, too. So she provides them somewhat of a three-way punch. But then you go past Clark, who had 27, Sonano with 18 points, Warnock with 12. You've got Gabby Marshall with 5, Kate Martin with 4, Hannah Stulke with 6, Addison O'Grady with 2, Molly Davis chipped in 9. So Molly, that was her bench points were much needed. Iowa ends up going 9 deep this evening with a falter, finally getting some playing time. She didn't play on Sunday at all. I mean, I don't really know what the answer is. It's clear. It's early in the year, and we talked about this after the men's game last night. Perhaps Lisa Bluter gets more comfortable going deeper once the season goes on, and certainly early road tests. You're going to keep your rotation somewhat short, and you're going to go with the gals that you trust the most. But boy, Iowa could certainly use some help and take some of that load off of Clark and Sonano. Clark did not really shoot the ball well at all tonight. 6 of 17. Once again, I thought she was hesitant at times. Did end up with a double-double and 3 assists away from a triple-double. 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists for Caitlin Clark. Now, I will say this, as it relates to officiating, officials, they were not the reason Iowa lost this game. I thought it was pretty even throughout. There were some horrendous calls in the last minute or two of this game. Terrible call against McKenna Warnock late, under a minute to play. I thought she was straight up. She gets called for a foul. And, of course, Gabby Gregory ended up with some big free throws down the stretch, courtesy of some horrendous calls from the officials. And then the call on Kate Martin. Look, girl slips. She falls over Kate Martin on a drive. She loses the ball. It was a late call. Those are just 2 bad calls, in my opinion. So, I mean, it was 83-83 at that point. Gabby Gregory ends up making 1 of 2 free throws, and they go up by 1. Iowa was able to advance the ball in the women's game past half court. They inbound it to Caitlin Clark. She ends up looked like her ankle, although I haven't heard that officially from Lisa Bluter. I'm sure we'll get clarification on that here in a few minutes once I get off the air here, but she ends up turning her ankle, gets it over to McKenna Warnock, who then tries to pass it to Monica Sonano under the rim, and clock ran out. They did call a foul, actually, against the gal who was defending Monica Sonano, but the foul occurred after the clock hit 0. It was shown on the review. That was clear, so wave off the foul, which could have potentially given Iowa the win had Sonano made both free throws, but it was for naught. I will say this. I was critical of Gabby Marshall, and critical of the girls not chip again. I have to say this. I mentioned Lisa Bluter and acknowledging the defensive issues, and I have no doubt she's acknowledging those behind closed doors. I just was disappointed after the press conference Sunday that those issues weren't brought to light, because I thought the defense was bad on Sunday. But one thing late in this game I was disappointed with from a coaching standpoint, and I would probably put this on the coaches more so than Caitlin Clark. What are we doing? 3 straight possessions. Well, really 2 straight possessions where Caitlin Clark is holding onto the ball for 2/3 of the possession and then hands the ball to Kate Martin or whoever she handed the ball to the first time with hopes of trying to run a play to get the ball back. At the second to last possession of the game for Iowa, Caitlin Clark had the ball until about 8 seconds left on the clock, then tried to hand it off to Kate Martin and then post up and get the ball back. I don't understand time-wise, clock management-wise, what you're doing there. You want the ball, obviously, in your best player's hands. I assume that Iowa had intentions of getting Caitlin the ball back again. But to me, it makes no sense. You've got the best one-on-one player in the country in Caitlin Clark. In the country. All right? Why is she handing the ball off with 8 seconds on the shot clock when it's tied 83-83? And that happened 2 straight possessions. And then on the final possession, the one where the clock ran out on Sonano, Warnock's got to be aware when Clark gets rid of that ball. I'm assuming Clark rolled the ankle, and then, it was kind of happened bang, bang. I'm assuming she rolled the ankle, and that's why she got it off to Warnock. But at that point, Warnock's got to be aware, hey, we only had 3 seconds on the clock when this play started. I don't have time to throw it to Sonano underneath. So that's got to be an awareness on McKenna Warnock. But I believe that falls back on coaching to some extent. So just a tough night, tough day for Iowa. That's a long trek home from Manhattan, Kansas, especially with Caitlin Clark turning that ankle. Again, I'm assuming it was a turned ankle. She was looked like she was crying on the way off the court. Felt bad for her. But it is one game, folks. It is one game. They've got issues defending. If you look at the stat sheet in general, I'll run through this real quick. Iowa actually shot a lot better than Kansas State overall. 49% from the field compared to just 41% for Kansas State. They were about even on three-point percentage. It was about even in rebounding, about even in assists. Iowa did turn the ball over more than Kansas State, 13-10, and Kansas State points off turnovers were big in this game as well. Kansas State cashing in on Iowa's mistakes. But bottom line is Iowa had a 12-point lead at one point. They continued to get it to 7 in that second half, but could never push it further. Yes, there was bad officiating, but in the end, defense isn't good enough. And late game half court offense, that's got to be corrected because they could have easily found a way to win this game had they not had 3 horrendous possessions to end this game with every chance to win it. So Iowa falls to 3-1 on the season. They'll bounce back hopefully on Sunday. They'll get Belmont in the afternoon. Very good Missouri Valley Conference team, a team picked to win that league. So we'll see what the Hawkeyes can do against Belmont back in Iowa City. Appreciate you tuning in for this segment. My version, or my reaction, I should say, to Iowa's loss to Kansas State, 84-83. Of course, I'll be with you throughout the weekend, including Iowa postgame with Coach Don Patterson after the Hawkeyes and the Gophers on the football field up in Minneapolis. Stay tuned.